Hello. Well, welcome. We are
So,
ranking we are ranking Star Wars Battlefront 2 characters. So starting at number 22, we have Finn. And me and Connor don't really use Finn, so we don't have like a lot to say. We just know that his abilities aren't the best. Uh
nah, they're not good.
yeah. I do think that Deadeye is probably the best out of all of them.
Yeah, I would say so too. Big deal. I mean, it's not terrible. It adds to your health, so you can help heal your teammates and stuff. But it's not like it doesn't heal them up really quickly, so it doesn't really matter. And then undercover team, it's not undercover team is not very good either. It's just a really
I don't
like
even
it's
know what
not
that
really a
does, to be
useful
honest.
power up. Yeah, it's well like I'm reading it and honestly like that's when I use like when we were using Finn in our shooter or non-shooters video or only shooters video, I remember like clicking it and I don't even know what I'm doing. It doesn't make any it's useless. So that's why Finn is where he is.
Oh yeah,
So I
in the
mean
only shooters video, I'd say we both played with Finn a little bit, and
yeah, we both switched off a little bit because his character is just not that great. So
yeah, it's
but
it's yeah. All right, moving on. Number 21.
in the spirit of Finn. Right!
All right,
But I mean, I keep going though.
number 21, we have Princess Leia. Uh, yeah, all I have to say is use her shield wisely. Actually, you know what? Probably don't even use her shield. Every
Yeah, it's
time we've
pretty
used
annoying.
it in the shooters only, it has screwed us over. The thermal detonators, I'd say those are pretty good, but the rapid fire is probably the best out of the three, just because it's so good. It does a lot of damage, and yeah, if you use it, you'll probably do some decent damage on someone.
Yeah, I mean, the shield is really just counterproductive in my opinion because once you put it down, obviously like it'll shield you off from any shooters that are shooting at you, but then you can't shoot from the inside the shield at anybody else, so it's basically useless because you can't attack while you're in the shield. So, I mean, I remember when Jake was using Leia and I was using Lando, and literally I threw like one of his grenade things that like detonates and shocks people, and literally it hit the Jake like dropped the shield and it hit the shield, bounced back, and literally did nothing. So the shield, honestly, if you're using Leia, don't really use the shield. It's kind of counterproductive. I would stick to more of the rapid fire and the thermal detonators for power ups.
Moving on to number 20, we have Lando. Connor, you used them most of the
Yeah,
time.
I use them most of the times in our shooting videos with only shooters. And if you want to actually watch that, you can
Yeah,
go
definitely
watch
check it
that.
out if you haven't seen it. It's pretty
I
funny.
You'll be surprised.
Connor, just wait till the end. Connor literally just goes crazy.
If you're like some Disney fans, go watch it. You'll get a good laugh. But yeah, so Lando, back to Lando, but he's an interesting shooter. He's not too terrible compared to the other people. He doesn't have any really bad uh power ups. I mean, his sharp shot is a lot like Deadeye with Finn. So
Yeah.
I mean that can be useful if you do have a good shot. He does have the disabler, which is like a grenade, but it instead of like blowing up, it shocks people, and that can be really useful in the duos when you're like trying to use it or like throw it, and then you can like shock lightsaber characters, which can help you for like running away or like shooting at them. Also, his worst power up probably is the smoke grenade. The smoke
Yeah.
grenade is pretty useless, honestly. You throw it and smoke comes out, so you can't even see the character coming at you. If anything, if you use the smoke grenade, it's to get away from somebody. So
I do want to say that every time that uh you, or not you, but when I played as him, every time that I put down the smoke grenade, they could still shoot at me. They could still
yeah,
basically see me, so it didn't really affect anything.
yeah, the smoke grenade is it's not that good in my opinion. So that's where he is basically.
All right, moving on to number 19, we have General Grievous. So
Oh
I
yeah, this is
I I
interesting.
actually tried to like be good with Grievous. It didn't really work out. I stopped using him just because it's pretty difficult. Number one, he does not have a lot of stamina, so if you're going up against a shooter, you're probably gonna lose like 90% of the time. Uh, for his abilities, the only bad ability is Unrelenting Advance. It's it literally I couldn't win every single time I used it. It's just not good. Thrust Surge is probably his best one. Claw Rush, it's just to get away. If you're low on health, just use Claw Rush to get out of it. But yeah, there are some good players with Grievous, but there are not a lot of good players with Grievous, so that's why we put him very low in the ranking.
Yeah, to add more, I guess, to it, I mean, me and Jake have definitely faced some really good Grievuses. So,
Oh
like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, if you're like one of those good Grievous players, you might have him a lot higher on this list just because you're really good with him. But if you're a beginner at this game, Grievous is not probably the best option
Okay.
just because he has
No.
really low stamina and you have to be like if you're good with them, you know how to use his power-ups correctly. So, I mean, it's honestly Grievous is a preference, and
Yeah.
it depends on how much you've played the game.
Number 18, we have Yoda. This is Connor. You use him most, so just gonna let
Yeah,
you take it away.
Yoda, Yoda, Yoda. I do use Yoda a lot because we do. I use him a lot when we do our duo videos, like when we had the video of us how to win with the good guys. He is part of it, and usually I pair him up with Anakin. But yeah, Yoda is he is an interesting Jedi. His power ups, like they're all not terrible, but they're not none of them are like elite power ups. So like his push is I would say is probably his best, honestly, because like that can get you out of like jams and stuff if you're trying to run away or if you're like trying to push someone off like a side of a cliff or like side of a anywhere where you can fall, and that can be useful. Um, Presence is basically a power up that heals yourself, which is can be nice if you're like really low in health, but like it's not like if you're super low, it's only going to give you so much health. And then next you have dash attack, which is basically what he uses to like jump at his opponents to attack them. Honestly, the move is pretty basic. It's not that great in my opinion. And Yoda is honestly he's pretty tough to use, and I've he's just not great at like if you're like in a lightsaber duel, he's not really a great Jedi to have because he doesn't do that much damage. And basically, whenever I'm playing with Yoda, it's usually trying to help Jake with like a battle, or I'm just trying to like keep someone away from Jake so they don't double team because Yoda is not the best when it comes to like one-on-one duels and attacking. So
Yeah, I
yeah, that's
do.
basically
I
it.
do think he has similar abilities to like Darth Maul and Luke.
Yeah,
I he's definitely like in our opinion, he's definitely like a worse version of Darth Maul and Luke. And let
yeah,
me just say, Connor is very good with Darth Maul, and he's pretty good with Yoda. But there is like a difference in like the
and
way.
drop off, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yoda. I mean, I have not seen that many people that are good with Yoda.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're one of them, then honestly, let us know. And like that's pretty impressive. But like, I don't know. I have not seen that many people that are like really great with Yoda.
Yeah. All right. So those were kind of like the worst players in our opinion, but moving on to number 17, this is like when it really gets to like an average play like player which
Yeah.
is BB9E. There are some very good players that play with him. I usually use BB8 a lot, which is technically it's kind of the same as BB9E, but it's like I think BB8's better, uh, just because yeah. But BB9E, his smoke screen is probably one of the most annoying things you could go up against, just because it's I don't think it's anything like Lando's smoke grenade, just because it follows the droid everywhere and it basically blinds you. Shock spin, in my opinion, that might be one of the best ones out of these, just because it'll throw anyone in his radius away. But it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's still pretty good. And charge up, I don't really know what that does, so that's probably the worst one. I do want to say that BB9E, his basic attack is really good, just because it like shocks people and then it stuns them for a second. So if you're playing duos, your teammate can just like start like attacking him right when he gets stunned, and that's usually probably the best tactic to use with BB9E. Number 16, we have Boba Fett. Uh, Once
Yeah, good
again,
old Boba.
he is someone that I've tried to be like really good with. Yeah, his abilities for the hunt is pretty good. It just like it you can like have unlimited jetpack, which is really nice when you're in a fight and you need to get away or you want to like stay in the air longer. Concussion rocket is also really good. It pretty much like blinds people who are affected by it. And rocket barrage is probably the best one to use, which it it does so much damage. If you get all of your rockets to hit one person or multiple people, it does so much damage. And yeah, I do want to say that it is hard to aim with Boba Fett sometimes, just when you're flying around. Yeah, another reason why we put him at number 16 is because he is very easy to like play against. Like you just
If yeah,
run
yeah.
inside and you will beat him. Like it's not that hard to beat him if there is like a place where you can go that's like indoors.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you get him indoors, you basically take away his jetpack from being like useful. So like if you're going up against Boba Fett, go indoors because you literally take away his flight basically, and like that basically takes away the whole advantage of being Boba Fett.
Moving on to number 15, we have Chewbacca.
Yeah, I used Chewbacca a lot when we were doing our shooter only video, and he's honestly not that bad of a shooter. He's actually one of my, if I had to pick some of my favorites in the game, he probably is one of my favorites to use because his power, like I honestly like all of his power ups. So like his first power up is the shock grenade, which is really nice whenever you want to. It's literally a grenade and you throw it and it shocks anybody in the area, which is really nice if you want to like shock them and then just start shooting them. And what's cool about Chewbacca is his shots don't like get blocked by lightsaber characters. So like once you shoot at them, it's gonna hit them. It doesn't matter if they're blocking or anything. So it's really nice to like shock grenade them and then start shooting them. And his other two good power ups is Furious Bowcaster, which is like basically an overpowered version of him shooting. So when he shoots, like it explodes behind it, so it does more damage. And then the other really good power up that I like, which I think is underrated in my opinion, is the charge slam, because if you're like in a situation where like you're going up against a lightsaber person and you're like on a place where like there's like a cliff where you could make someone fall, you can use that charge slam to run at them, slam, and it basically slams the ground and stuns like the your opponent and like makes them like fly off or just like fall to the ground. So like you can use that to manipulate it to make him fall off like the side of the cliff or something like that. But honestly, Chewbacca was probably one of my favorite characters to use in the shooter challenge just because he has all three of his power ups I feel like are pretty useful.
Number 14, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. Take
Yeah,
it
that's
away.
another character that I used a lot. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is he's an interesting character because his he's the reason why he's where he is because he's a very, very defensive lightsaber character. And there's nothing wrong with being a defensive character. It's just whenever you need to attack, he struggles. So like he's probably the best defensive player in the game, but whenever you're going up against someone that you need to be able to attack against, he struggles. But he does have three okay power moves. Um, he's got the all-out push, which honestly might be the most frustrating power move he has, just because the push you have to load up. So like if you're trying to push someone quick to get them away from you, you literally have to hold it down to push them so it loads. So honestly, I can't stand that power up. But then he also has two other ones, which are defensive power ups. He has the restrictive mind trick, which is actually a pretty solid power up because it basically takes away any of your opponent's power ups, and it actually is pretty useful. And then the last one is the defensive rush, which I think's another dumb power up. It is basically he runs at his opponent or runs away from his opponent, which it's it's basically useless. Like if I barely ever use it just because I it's just not worth it. You literally just run at the person you're going against. So like I don't know, but he's overall where he is because he's probably the best defensive player in the game, and he has like a ton of stamina. So like he's not a terrible lightsaber. So like he is a lightsaber. So he's gonna be average. Like he's not gonna be bad, but he's not. If you're like if you need to attack someone, he might not be your best bet. So
Yeah, I do want to say if you ever choose to use Obi-Wan, definitely use his stamina like as an
mm-hmm.
advantage because basically what the opponent will do is probably start attacking you and waste all their stamina and you'll pretty much have enough left over to hit him a lot or take him down. Number 13, we have Darth Maul, another one that Connor
uh,
uses.
yeah. Honestly, Darth Maul might be one of the characters that I'm probably best with. Just because I one of our players that we use in our duos with the villains, so I use him a lot. And his character is another, I would say, is a defensive character because he doesn't cause a lot of damage to his opponents. And his three power ups, they're not all terrible. Like those power ups are honestly they're average power ups. There's no really great one. But the first one is Furious Throw, which basically he throws his lightsaber, and it's basically like an underwhelming version of Vader's lightsaber throw. So I mean, it's all right. It's not terrible. Doesn't do that much damage. His other one that he has is Chokehold, which is actually a pretty good move if you know how to use it correctly. You can use the chokehold. Basically, what it does is it chokes your opponent and then throws them across like just throws them basically. So if you're in a place where you can like throw someone off the side of a building or throw them off the side of a cliff, you can use that, and it actually works really well. And then his last power up is probably one of his most used power ups in the game. Honestly, is his spin attack, which basically he jolts basically wherever you want him to go. So he spins and he like goes super fast past them, and you can use that to get away from like opponents that when you have like low health, or if you just want to like manipulate it to use the spin to get behind one of your opponents and chokehold them and throw them. So I mean, if you're really experienced with Darth Maul, you can do a lot of things with him. So
I do want to say I have seen Connor do this so many times, and it's worked so many times. Is do that spin attack and then get behind him and chokehold him and literally throw him off like a cliff or something. And that is probably one of like the best moves that you could probably do with Darth Maul.
yeah, I would say so.
But
It's kind of like a surprise attack, basically.
number 12, we have Bossk, another one that Connor is
Seems
experienced
like a
with.
theme that I'm getting all the average guys, but yeah. But basically, Bossk is an interesting. Honestly, he might be. Boss might be one of my top three favorites in the game, which a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me, but that's just my preference because I like playing with them. And basically, Bosk is it's he's an interesting character because he has three power-ups. I honestly like all three of his power-ups. Some people may say some of his power-ups are useless, but I think there's good ways you can use all three of his power-ups. And the first power-up is his toxic grenade, which is I think pretty useful because if you throw it at like one of your opponents, it basically starts taking away their stamina. So like if you throw it at them and like they basically have to get out of the smoke to like stop losing stamina, which I find it can be useful in certain scenarios. His second power up is Predator Instinct, which is basically what he does is Bossk shoots grenades out of his gun, and basically these grenades, no matter if you're blocking, if you're facing a lightsaber person, no matter if they're blocking or anything, it's gonna do damage, which makes that move power up so good. So there's been times where like if you watch our videos, you obviously know who Phasma and Boss, the Phasma and Boss duo. So like I usually use his grenade, or Predator Instinct, which is his grenades, when I'm in Phasma's turret that like shocks people, so they can't, so lightsaber people can't come at me. So and that is super effective, and the grenades do so much damage. And then his last power up, which I honestly love this last power up. I don't know why. I've used it so many times. Is the proximity mines, which basically you can place these mines anywhere, and they'll blow up whenever a lightsaber person gets near them. So I remember like I was using these when basically we were using Phasma and Bossk, and me and Jake, something happened to Jake where he died with Phasma, and it was basically me versus ObiWan, which is literally he's literally one of the most defensive lightsaber people in the game, and I basically set the grenades down or the mines down, running down like a staircase, and literally it blew up, and it did so much damage on ObiWan, and basically I just lit him up with but like shooting him with Bossk, and I like ended up beating him, which was honestly like one of my favorite moments with Bossk. So, but yeah, Bossk. Honestly, you a lot of people might not say they like him, but I think he's pretty underrated.
Yeah, literally, Bossk with Phasma is so
Oh
OP,
yeah, yeah,
but
that
Bossk by
duo.
himself is still a very good player to play with. He's not as good when he's like paired up with Phasma, but like Connor said, he did take down Obi-Wan by himself.
Yeah, if you're good with them, you can win some games.
All right, moving on. Number 11, we got there she is. We got Rey. We got Rey
Oh
with a
yes,
new lightsaber. Ooh. Anyways,
sexy.
Rey is probably also one of the most annoying people to play against just because of her mind trick But me and Connor have gone up against Ray so many times. We've played this game for months. We know how to like counter the mind trick. Well, while we're like while we got like stunned by the mind trick, we know like what to do. We know how to get
Hmm.
out of it, but if you're new to the game, it's gonna be frustrating. It's very difficult to play against people while you're in the mind trick state just because you can't really turn around. You can everything's like switched up on you. Like forward
Yeah,
is now
everything's
backwards.
reversed.
Yeah, dash strike. It's not the greatest against lightsabers. It's if you can hit them, it just pretty much like they fall over and you can hit them like once or twice until they start blocking again. It does do a decent amount of damage, but I I wouldn't say that's like a good thing to use. Also, insight, all you can really do with that is just see where people are. It doesn't really do anything else that I know about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say on Rey. I like the new lightsaber. It's pretty cool.
When you're using our mind trick, uh, definitely Ray. If you're playing as Ray and you use her mind trick, definitely like try and get behind them and just start hitting them from behind. Some people will not know what to do, and some people will know what to do, but most of the time they don't really know what to do, and you'll pretty much kill them every time.
Yeah, I know there's been times like when at the beginning of the game when I first got it, I would get mind tricked by Ray and we'd be like on a place where like there's cliffs and like you can literally fall and die easily. And literally I'd get mind tricked and I'd be holding up the joystick and literally I would walk backwards and like right down into a hole and die. So like yeah, I mean mind tricks you got to get used to it, I guess basically.
All right, moving on to number 10. This is Captain Phasma, and this is like getting to the above average territory, which is, you know, it's pretty good. These people are pretty good to play with, and Phasma is probably my favorite shooter for the villains, just because of her sentry droid, which is the best thing, which is the best ability she has by far. And
Yeah.
this is pretty much I wouldn't really consider it as the secret, but this is how we pretty much win with Phasma and Bossk. And what this droid does is every time somebody gets into like the radius, like the shock radius, it stuns them for like 2 to 3 seconds maybe, and that's when me and Connor just shoot them and they pretty much die every single time. And if they have not died yet, I use the staff strikes, which is basically Phasma's staff, and that does a lot of damage. And if you're ever in trouble with like someone against a lightsaber and they're like really close up to you and you can't shoot them, definitely use the staff strike, just because it does so much damage and you'll have a better chance of beating them. Survivor, it gives Phasma like I think it's like 200 uh 200 plus health, uh, but it's only temporarily. But I use that a lot too. I think all these abilities are pretty good in my opinion. Uh,
Oh yeah, they all sound pretty good.
all right, moving on to number 9, we have Count Dooku. Count Dooku used to be my favorite villain to play with, uh, just because I loved like the way he plays. His lightning stun's really good. The only problem with it that I had was I wish it had like a longer range, but either way, it was still pretty good. Uh, Duelist is probably my favorite thing on his power up, just because it not only does it upgrade his damage with his lightsaber, but it makes him like a lot faster, and it does a lot of things, and people can't really stop it. But Expose Weakness is pretty good too. It just what it does is I think it just gets them confused and stuff. Like it makes them slower and all that. But Yeah, I think Duelist is probably the best one out of it, and if you're using Count Dooku, definitely use Duelist whenever you're about to fight someone. Number 8, we have Iden. Iden.
Yeah,
Iden.
Aiden's an interesting character, but she is, if you use her correctly, she can be so good.
One of like her best things that isn't even an ability is that she can shoot like, what is it, like blast out of her like uh
Out of her
gun,
gun, basically.
and it recharges like within seconds, like maybe 1 second. And yeah, it's just really
Yeah,
good.
those blasts are really good. Like you can't even like that. This is one of those characters where even if you're a lightsaber character and you're blocking, the blast like it doesn't matter. The blast automatically do damage. So it's
Also,
like
she probably
it's
has
good.
she probably has like the fastest like rapid fire I've seen in the game.
Her abilities are honestly I don't use her a ton, so I don't know a ton about her abilities, but she does have a stun droid, which is nice because it stuns her opponents, and since she has rapid fire, you get stunned by that droid within seconds, she could be lighting you up. So it's like
Yeah.
it's that's a nice thing to have. She also has the pulse cannon, which also is a nice thing to have.
It's basically, I think what it is like a sniper, and it does a ton of damage
Okay.
when you charge it up all the way. And that is really good, but I mean, when we play, we don't really like focus on long range stuff. So,
Yeah. And then the droid shield, and it's I mean it's basically like a thing. It's like a shield that goes around her, and that can be pretty nice because like it basically gives you a shield against the other shooters. So which is basically another like overpowered type thing because like then people can't shoot you, so it's really nice. So
I
that's basically the reason why she's in this spot.
I think the only problem with the droid shield though is that um it doesn't really do anything against lightsabers. It does
Oh yeah,
stuff
no.
against shooters though.
Yeah, no, if you're going up against a shooter, it's really helpful, but lightsabers, it doesn't matter. If they get close to you, then it's gonna take damage, so.
Number 7, we got Palpatine. Palpatine.
Palps. Uncle
There,
Palp.
there are a lot of good Palpatine players out there.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that is very annoying is his lightning is it's just so annoying to deal with when you're fighting someone else. Uh, if you ever try to run away from Palpatine, it's probably not gonna work. Just because his lightning reaches so far away. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think we've used him that much, but chain lightning from like the times that I've used them, chain lightning is probably one of the best ones, along with electrocute. I don't really. I've used dark aura. It's good, but like whenever I used it, I haven't done really well with it.
I think that one thing that really helps him a lot is he can like jump like a lightsaber character. So he can jump really high, which I think is really like underrated because you can literally like jump up and then just start electrocuting anybody from
Oh
like an
yeah.
aerial. Which I find like whenever we face good Palpatines, they're like attacking at you from the air. So there's nothing you can do. Like you can't really jump up at them and start attacking them. So I mean, there are certain ways where you can win easily with Palpatine if you're good with him.
Moving on to number 6, we
Oh
have
boy.
BB-8. I literally I've literally stopped using shooters for the good guys and just been using BB-8. Uh, now Connor has said I am amazing with BB-8. Uh,
Yeah, not an over exaggeration either.
yeah. But yeah, like I just want to say, like when you're using BB-8, definitely you definitely use his cable spin. It is the best ability you can ever use with BB-8. Rolling charge. Uh, if I am low on health and I need to run away, I will use rolling charge to like knock him over. It's basically like Han Solo's like I forgot what it's called, like the shoulder whatever it
Yeah, like
is.
shoulder charge type thing.
Yeah, it's basically that. Uh, yeah, actually, it's technically that. So,
Yeah, it basically just like punches the your opponent and like pushes
yeah,
them.
and they just fall over, and you can either, if you're low on health, you can run away and gain your health back, or you can just shock them and do something else. Resistance backing, I really, it all it does, I think, is just mess with their radars, so they don't really know where you are. But I think that I don't really find that useful in 2v2s, just because I think, once again, I think the best thing that you can use is cable spin whenever you're fighting anyone with BB-8, and I think it's really good. To number five, this is probably, actually, nah, I would say this is like the elite, but it's close. This is definitely like the best shooter out of everyone in the game by far. It's Han Solo. His gun just does a bunch of damage. If you get a headshot, you can like have like five shots, like five headshots, and they'll probably be dead. But his bomb is so good. It literally, like, people will like fly away if you explode the bomb right next to him. Uh, it's just really good. It does a ton of damage, and yeah. But sharpshooter is probably the one that I use like the most. What it is like a rapid fire of his regular gun. So basically, like, yeah, if somebody has, like, if you're going up against a Grievous, pretty much just use that, and then he'll run out of stamina like really quickly. But yeah, shoulder charge, like I said, it's basically like BB-8s. Yeah, I haven't really used Han Solo that much recently.
Yeah, Han Solo is really good. I've like a lot of good players of like Star Wars Battlefront in general are really good with Han because
Mm-hmm.
all three of his power ups are useful, and like he does a ton of damage, and you don't know how many times uh, I've ran through the detonated charge and have been exploded and like fell off the side of like a cliff or like a side of like a hangar or wherever I am. So like that is his detonated charge is very, very good. And then the shoulder charge is also not really bad either. Like literally you can like shove people to get away from people. So like overall he is definitely one of the best cards. Or he's definitely the best shooter and he's probably one of the best players in the game.
All right, so number four, we got Luke Skywalker, and this is pretty much like where the elite cards come up, the elite players.
Yeah, I would say the elite tier players.
Yes.
And I use Luke is usually one of the players that I use a lot, and Luke is one of my favorite players in the game probably because all three of his power ups are like elite, like they're at an elite level. His push, when I mean his push, pushes you so far, or pushes your opponent so far. You don't know how many times I've pushed opponents and they freaking fly like literally like a rag doll. Like it's so funny. And they're like if you compare his push to anybody else's in the game, it is nowhere close. Like o- Obi-Wan's, Yoda's,
Yes.
nowhere close. Yeah, so then his next power up is Repulse, which is also a really good power up. Basically what he does is he like slams the ground and it basically causes like the ground to shake and like basically if your opponent's in the radius of the pulse, your opponent falls immediately and it does like damage so it helps a lot, and yeah, that's one of his best moves if you ever need to like get away if you have low health, or if you just want to stun your opponent and try to attack them. And then his last one is called Rush, which is basically his way of like jolting at someone and attacking them. and I like to use that one whenever I want to get close to my opponents and like start attacking them. So that one is also pretty useful in my opinion. So, but yeah, Luke is a pretty elite lightsaber, which makes sense because basically this whole saga surrounded around him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's really good.
I do want to say, like, if you're getting double teamed, uh, definitely use repulse, uh,
Yeah.
to like get a better advantage, or to like, I don't know, do whatever you want to.
Yeah, if you're getting double teamed, repulse is definitely a good way where you can run away, I guess, and get more of a get more of like a better stance from like your opponent. Or if you stun them and then go after one and try to like defeat them, so it's one on one. But yeah, Luke is definitely one of the best players in the game by far.
Oh
So
yeah. All right, number three. My This is my favorite hero to use, which is Anakin Skywalker.
yeah,
Anakin has four abilities. Let me just tell you that. Pull dominance. I've used that so many times, and his range for pull dominance is it's so far. It can reach anywhere. Uh, but basically, what I do is I pull them, and then I use the heroic might, which is basically like the thing that Luke uses. I already forgot what it was called, but it basically just uh does like a force like push at like the ground, and it just like makes a wind and makes
oh,
everyone fall.
repulse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
but
Luke's.
yeah, it's basically like repulse. But yeah, I basically use that, and both of those do a decent amount of damage, and uh, I just use all of those and then just start attacking them. But if somebody's low on health and they're blocking, use Passionate Strike, which is an unguardable lightsaber strike, and it does a lot of damage. But Retribution, you have to like the only problem with this one is that you have to like build your way up to it, so you have to like continue fighting people and stuff to even get close to like using the ability. But once you have it, it is very good. It's almost like a force choke, and he force chokes like anyone in the area, uh or like anyone in like the radius that he's in. But yeah, it's pretty good to use. Moving on to number two, Kylo Ren.
Oh yes,
Oh yes.
Kylo Ren. Just a personal opinion here, but honestly, Kylo Ren is probably one of the own like he is literally one of my favorite villains in Star Wars history. Like I don't know, I think they nailed it with him, but that
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with the game. But yeah, but basically he is a really good character. All of his power-ups, I would say, are at like a really elite level. His first power up is called Pull, which is really useful whenever you want to get one of your opponents close to you, or if you want to pull them off like the side of a cliff and like make them fall. So that move is really good. His second one is Frenzy, which is a really good move. Basically, what it does is once you use it, he basically goes crazy and he starts lunging at your opponent automatically and just full on attacking them in like a frenzy. That's why they call it frenzy. And it's really good whenever you want to do a lot of damage on one of your opponents. And his last one is called freeze, which basically when you use it, it freezes any of your opponents like when you're facing them. So like you freeze them, you can freeze them. You can then use frenzy and attack them and do a ton of damage. You could either pull them closer. There's there is so many things you can do with this character, and like there's so many different combos you can use in it. You can freeze someone, then attack them, pull or freeze them, pull, freeze. Like there are so many different combos you can use with this to keep your opponent off guard. That that's why me and Jake have met too. Like, he is really hard to face.
Yeah, I do want to say that earlier today and like maybe even in videos, Connor has done a freeze frenzy, which basically he just freezes the opponent and then he does a frenzy, which
Yeah,
dude, frenzy does so much damage and it's like it's just very overpowered. But
yeah,
solid. All right, going to number one. It
and
is
it's
Darth
number
Vader.
one,
Darth Vader.
the
Let me just say.
OG.
Let me just say. One of the reasons why he's number one is that he has so much health. Like, I, if you put on his focused rage, uh, it gains, it gives him like bonus health, but not only like bonus health, but he also gets bonus damage. But with his bonus health, he gets like 1,000. Like he has like 1,000 health, and it's just, how do you go up against someone who has 1,000 health? It's just insane. But lightsaber throw, that is probably one like his lightsaber throw compared to Darth Maul's, like
Yeah, it's
Darth Vader's just has
it's not
it
even
just does a
comparable.
bunch of damage. And if you have like the right star cards, um, he can do like double damage if it hits him twice. But yeah, choke. Choke is probably his choke is probably like the best thing, uh, like out of this, just because you can choke them and you can move while you're choking them. Like so, let's just say that you're next to a cliff and you choke them. You can literally rotate Darth Vader so that it pulls like the character that's choked over the cliff, and then once you're done choking them, they'll just fall. It's very good. uh I've done that so many times. It's
Might be
just
one
really
of the
good.
best power up in the game, honestly.
Yeah, I do want to say, and the and like the no lightsaber challenge, we did go up against, and like the final, like the one that
Oh
we
yeah,
won, we faced up against Darth Vader twice
yeah. So
for
you can't
two
say it was
rounds.
no cheapie.
Jeez, Connor, I'm still laughing at your singing.
Yeah, if you go back and watch it, go back and watch the video. If you're a Disney fan, you will enjoy it. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, that was a good video. But I guess that wraps it up. I guess.
yeah.
So.
I guess this is our uh, ranked characters for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I just want to say that these are all opinion based.
Yeah, very
People,
opinionated. So.
everybody's everybody's ranking will be different. So if you've made it this far, definitely comment down what you would have changed, or just comment down your whole ranking list, and we'll check it out. And
Yeah, obviously everybody's ranks are going to be different because like not everybody's the same with the same or with the characters. So your list is obviously going to be different than ours. That's ours.
yeah,
So I
people
mean,
might honestly put BB-8 at like 20 and
yeah,
change it around.
yeah,
But
it's all opinionated at the end of the day. So if you like the video, give it a like though.
yeah,
So
definitely like and subscribe. And Connor, don't say don't say it.
I'm not. Might as well turn on the post
Yeah.
notifications as well. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, peace out. I guess. I don't
See ya.
know.